Hello, folks. You're watching NDTV. I'm Aditya Kumar, and today I have been joined with two guests from Australia. It's Sam Perry and Ian Higgins. They are the two men behind the Great Cricketer podcast. And, guys, first of all, welcome to the show and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you,
No
Aditya.
problem.
Thanks for having us. Our pleasure.
Okay, and how are things going in Australia at present? Like, what about Australian cricket? How are you guys doing?
um, yeah, things are good. There's not a whole lot of cricket happening here at the moment. Of course, after the World Cup and an earlier exit than what the Australian teams would have wanted. It's the middle of winter in Australia, so yeah, we're just looking forward to the Olympics, and then the big BGT later in the year. So yeah, all good.
Okay. You said an early exit. The Indians were assuming it as a revenge, basically because they were Australia who beat India in the WTC final. They were Australia who beat India in the ODI World Cup final, and finally India got a small chance though, but at least they got a chance to put pressure on Australia, and eventually that India's win over Australia played a big role. And how do you take it?
It's hard to know what to say if we're having fun or not. I mean, if I had a choice of winning the ODI World Cup last year or this year's T20 World Cup, I know which one I'm choosing. But at the end of the day, India deserved to win the T20 World Cup because they played the very best cricket, and we're lucky enough to cover the IPL and to have some in-depth knowledge of Indian players and the way Indian cricket works. And we understand what a special effort it was from that team to transcend a lot of their difficulties at previous World Cups to win the tournament. And they were deserved winners. Australia didn't bring their best cricket at the right time. And there's no complaints from Australia's end about who the winner was of the tournament. I think the Indian team was excellent and were thoroughly deserved to take home the trophy.
Look, there's no doubt that Australia are a world champion side. Obviously, they have the World Cup to boast of, and everybody, the world knows about it. But more talking about that game, that India versus Australia T20 World Cup Super-Eight game, in which we saw Rohit Sharma. Generally, we see him struggling against left-arm pacers, but in that game, he actually went berserk, especially against Mitchell Starc, and over that fetched a lot of runs. Rohit Sharma was at his best. And what was going on? Like in India, we know, like in India, we were just, we were over the moon seeing Rohit Sharma at his best. But what was going on in Australia? How were the former cricketers taking it? How were you guys taking it?
Mate, I'll tell you what was happening. It was 1:30 in the morning when that was happening in Australia. Not a single person was watching. I know you want people to be really sad. No, no. Look, Rohit Sharma has had a really unusual time in the IPL, especially in the last few years, which is such a remarkable player, is odd. It's hard to figure out why it hasn't quite worked out for him in the last couple of years. And then it was maybe a bit of a slower start for Rohit into the tournament, but then in that moment, in that game, I mean, he was absolutely outstanding, especially in that one over that you're referencing. Was it 4 or 5 sixes in the over? 4 sixes in the over. And, in what was overall a low-scoring T20 World Cup, especially compared to the IPL that had just gone before it, it was a huge moment in the game. And look, basically what it comes down to is Mitchell Starc just missed his line of lengths, and Rohit pounced all over it, and he showed the kind of quality cricketer that he is. And he just about in that moment took the game away from Australia, it felt like, even though it was so early in the game.
Okay, just after the T20 World Cup final, two of India's greats, Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, called time on their T20I careers. Do you think it was the right time for them to retire from this format?
I mean, probably. I'm not sure what else there was for them to gain from playing international T20 cricket, having won the elusive World Cup. And when you add on to that cricketers' schedules are so packed these days, in particular Indian international players, it's understandable that two guys who are, almost automatic selections in the Indian team wanted to reserve some time for themselves, their families, and to be fresh for other formats that they still care about. When you put on top of that India has so many great players coming through, I think it made complete sense for them to retire on a high, leaving people with excellent memories. I mean, for Rohit, as Higgos just said, he reserved a lot of his best knocks for the most important moments in that World Cup. And then Virat, who had a quiet tournament, saved his best knock for the final. So the memories that they leave the Indian fans can't really be topped. So I think it does make complete sense for them to retire when they did. We're really lucky, Aditya. So Higgos and I played club cricket in Australia, which was the level below state cricket. We had dreams of being professional players and we weren't good enough. But having played for so long, we picked up a lot of experiences that we didn't feel like were very reflected in cricket media. So we started a Twitter account. We wrote about our experiences and it seemed to resonate with a lot of people. And then we just explored the character of the grade cricketer or the club cricketer through different mediums. One of them was podcasts, and people seem to enjoy it. We try and bring cricket stories to people with a little bit of humour and reflect some of the difficult experiences that you have playing cricket that often aren't spoken about by ex-professional players that tell stories about the game. And we're really lucky to have amassed an audience that allows us to keep doing this. When Rishabh Pant hit Josh Hazlewood down the ground at the Gabba to win that test match, we found a lot of Indian fans as well. I don't know why.
That's weird.
It was really weird, but we're really lucky to be able to speak to Indian fans as well who love the game of cricket so much. We're so privileged to be able to learn about India and understand how the game is played there as well. And we've also found that for a lot of people in India, their experience of cricket is very similar to ours as well. There's a lot more that we have in common than we have that is different. So, yeah, the podcast has been a really great place to build a community of people who love cricket and like to have a bit of a laugh with it as well.